What's up, guys? It's Crash, and in an effort to make this channel a respectful voice for change in the Battlefield franchise, if you guys watched my Dear Battlefield video, the reception was great. The comments were honestly heartwarming, and there are a lot of folks out there like me who want to see Battlefield return to glory with back to its roots as a Battlefield game with a little bit of innovation sprinkled on top those core foundational features of Battlefield that made it awesome and when so many of us fell in love with it. And in an effort to do that, I want to be a respectful voice for change. And what I mean by that is put forth ideas, thoughtful ways to fix the franchise, but not call anybody out, not be negative, not do any of that stuff, and really do our best to get our voices to be heard respectfully. Because the one common thing amongst all Battlefield people, when you hear them arguing on Twitter or arguing on Reddit or arguing or calling out developers, at the root, at the foundation, we all want the same thing. We want a great Battlefield game that we can enjoy with our friends, enjoy with our communities, and have an awesome time. So in an effort to do that, I realize that the likelihood of this getting around and getting big enough to where people see it at DICE and things like that is incredibly small, especially the higher ups at EA that more than likely need this information. What I thought I would do was take a look at the most recent mistakes that EA and DICE have made with the Battlefield series. And what I mean by that are the certain times when massive amounts of potential were left on the table, were left untapped, and they could have been used to grow the Battlefield community, grow the Battlefield franchise, and they just weren't, because it's kind of seen a trend of it happening over and over the last few titles of just massive potential and not following through, kind of bailing on it at the first sign of adversity. So I wanted to start by talking about Firestorm. Now, this was one of the very first videos I made on my channel about how much I really enjoyed Firestorm. Now, a lot of that could be because I've almost always, minus the 2 time to kill times, Battlefield 5, I call myself jokingly a Battlefield 5 truther, but I get where a lot of people say battle royales don't belong in Battlefield. Now, you could use that even against me, because in my Dear Battlefield video, I say, we need to get back to our roots, and you could throw it back in my face and say, Crash, a battle royale is not at the roots of Battlefield, and I would totally agree with you. However, if I summed up what went wrong with Firestorm in just a few sentences, it was used incredibly wrong. I remember starting to be a battle royale fan when PUBG craze was going on, and it didn't play very well. It had a lot of bugs. I thought the Frostbite engine would be the perfect engine to make a battle royale game. It was already ready for larger servers. It had beautiful graphics. It was able to handle destructions and vehicle gameplay. But in summary, where it all went wrong was not being free to play. And essentially what that did was it tried to shoehorn Battlefield veterans, Battlefield players into playing Battle Royale, which is not what they wanted. The Battlefield fans who were already going to buy the game, who were already going to play the game, wanted to play a squad-based kind of arcade military style co-op shooter, massively multiplayer with their friends, and do the things that Battlefield players enjoy. They didn't want to pay $60 and then have to go play a Battle Royale as well to get their money's worth out of the game. Instead of shoehorning Battlefield players into a Battle Royale, and it should have been a way to get Battle Royale fans introduced into Battlefield mechanics. So a Battle Royale fan could pick up this free-to-play game, check it out. Wow, these graphics are really awesome. This Frostbite engine's pretty cool. Oh my gosh, I can blow up a building, no problem. These tanks are pretty fun to drive around. I'm having a good time. Wait, I can do this all the time in Conquest with my friends? Hey, maybe I'll pick up a Battlefield game and bring in new players and just introduce them to the mechanics of the Battlefield games that we all love. So that's the overarching thing. If that's what you came to hear, have a good one. Thanks for watching the video. But a little bit of context was actually added to this when a few creators tweeted about when this came out. I was already working on this video, so it's kind of interesting that other creators are thinking about this as well. And essentially it started out with Maverick, a content creator, saying it was such a massive amount of potential left on the table because Firestorm had destruction. And that is 100% true. That is one of the biggest letdowns of this whole thing. Every battle royale that's successful kind of has their own thing. Apex Legends with the heroes and the respawn system, Call of Duty Warzone with the loadouts and things like that. What was so special about Firestorm was the destruction, and I don't think it can be overstated how cool it was. One of the biggest issues, you guys know, everybody's tried battle royales at least, right? And one of the biggest things that's annoying is if you're moving across the map, if the circle's making you move, especially like the final circle, it's pulling you up to a building. There's people camping in the buildings a lot of times. There's nothing you can do. They're going to win. Well, in Firestorm, it's Battlefield. You take down the building like no problem, and we're all on the same playing fields. That was so cool. The vehicles were tastefully done in the game. They were They were out there, they were powerful, they could be used, but there was also a lot of ways to counter them. The big map with a lot of topography, you could maneuver around, make plays on them. There were anti-tank mines, Panzerfaust, there were tons of ways to take out vehicles and deal with them. The vehicles also needed gas. This is one of the first battle royales that I can remember that actually had mechanics from the multiplayer in it, where you could take the points and get really good loot at some risk. People would know that you're taking them and could come ambush you. So it had a lot of really good stuff to it, and EA essentially killed it. It was released a little less than 2 months after Apex Legends launched, which was stealth launched by a lot of large content creators. Dr. Disrespect and Shroud were the big BR players at the time. They launched this game and it was free to play, and it was from EA. And then they kept this behind a paywall, much to the dismay of a lot of content creators, which they just tweeted. I really appreciate them sharing this over on Twitter. Westy says, was in initial meetings about Firestorm and tried to tell people in charge it needed to be free to play and not linked to Battlefield 5. First response was that it had to be included in the $60 product in order to add value to Battlefield 5. This just has BR genre full pivoted to free to play. It was behind the times. It was behind the times in its marketing plan. It was ahead of the times as a battle royale. I 100% agree with that. And then Get Good Guy says, I remember being amongst many creators and community members who made the exact point all over the place. And then Westy said, I remember the moment we were told it was behind a $60 paywall. The person that told us wasn't able to fight for that to change despite having a huge part in developing it. I looked around and by the looks on others' faces, we all knew it being behind a paywall was a mistake. And then Pro Losco goes on to add, I remember that moment clearly. Their faces were like, we know what you mean, but we have no power in this. Such a shame. So it's so frustrating that EA would do this to its own game when it's blatantly obvious to everybody except the higher ups that this needed to be free to play. The game itself played really good in my opinion. It needed some tweaks. I want to talk about those just a little bit. Probably the biggest glaring issue was the looting system. This image is from a Reddit user depicting just that, the massive problem with the looting system, how everything just was piled out on the ground. Now, initially, I was a little bit frustrated with this criticism, especially later on when like Warzone came out and Fortnite, and they kind of did the same thing where everything puked on the ground. But this is a little bit rough where you can't see it. A few ways you could have fixed it was have it be a little bit like Warzone's loadout, where if you already had it in your inventory and it was out on the ground, it would auto pick it up just to fill up your inventory. Firestorm also had the really cool armor system, which has been now adopted by like DMC and Warzone with the plate system. It was also in Blackout, which was also another game. It was also behind a paywall, but it had another battle royale that came out at the time from Call of Duty. But a lot of people wanted there to be like a container system, a bag system, similar to like how PUBG is, where you go up to the bag, open it up, scroll through, click on what you want. And TSM Break said this to Westy under this thread. I'm sure looting had a hand in killing this game. Trying to find plates under mountains of loot, really enjoyed it too. Then Westy replies, I had no idea this was a thing. Westy replies, they actually had bag looting in the works, but the update never came out because higher ups can support. I saw UI work that had been done for it. Firestorm was never given a chance. So this was actually in the process of being fixed, which is actually wild to me, because if you fix the looting system and then sped up that mid-game lull, it would be a top tier BR with something new to offer. The map was massive, it was beautiful, and it was also diverse. You had water with the water mechanics and the swim wagon you could drive around. It had mountains with snow and a lot of different environments, and all they needed to do was make the starting circle smaller and the mid circles just a little bit faster to press that action, and then allow, kind of facilitate that with a faster way to loot. It would have been paced really well and a ton of fun. And I just get really frustrated that even after the fact it wasn't made free to play, because to me it's like, what do you have to lose now? You're not going to make any money off of it anyway since it's dead. Why don't you put it out and at least have it fill the servers and potentially be an advertisement for Battlefield 5? I don't understand it. Another way they completely abandoned this at the first sign of any adversity was the 5.2 TTK patch. So they nerfed essentially all the weapons in the multiplayer and did not even think about, it was not even thought about how this would affect Firestorm. There was an obscene amount of sponginess if someone had 3 plates and an STG. I remember it was like double-digit bullets to kill somebody. Like it was insane how it felt. It almost felt like Halo from a time to kill standpoint. So they completely wrote off Firestorm because not very many people were playing it, instead of trying to revive it, trying to support it. And it is so frustrating because I think it would have been one of my favorite games. If it would have been free to play, I could see me still playing Firestorm to this day, and then sprinkle that in with Battlefield 5. And if that would have continued on past the Pacific DLC, which will be another episode in the series of missed potential of Battlefield. I think this kind of sums up what happened with Firestorm. I know a lot of you folks were familiar with it, but apparently EA wasn't, because we had Hazard Zone, which could be another episode in the series of missed potential of Battlefield. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. We're going to keep talking about these things. We're going to keep bringing them up. We're going to keep trying to speak our minds so Battlefield can learn from its past. Well, I just want them to learn from their past, use these and move on, because mistakes are only mistakes if you repeat them. If you make a mistake and you learn from it, that's a learning experience. But if you keep repeating it, then it's a mistake. So we got to keep those from happening with the Battlefield franchise. Let's talk about it respectfully. If you guys enjoyed this video, I also made a similar video kind of laying everything out that I did not enjoy with Battlefield 2042 and what they did and how they treated the community. And I think you guys would enjoy that. If you enjoy this type of video, we're going to make more videos about missed potential in the Battlefield series. I hope you'll check those out too. Consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.